Hello everyone, welcome to Analog IAS Current Affair Analysis for 30th of December 2020, and in this video we'll be discussing about this couple of issues. This article taken from the Hindu is about balancing the rights of the forest dwellers and the needs of conservation of our forests. So in 2012, the World Heritage Committee has recognized total 39 areas of Western Ghats, and out of this 10 areas are in Karnataka. These areas were declared as World Heritage Site. So conservation of these site becomes very important for the biodiversity conservation. In this context, we have to understand how to balance between the rights of the forest dwellers, and in India we have the Forest Rights Act 2006 for the same purpose. And at the same time we also have to take into account the need for conservation. The general rhetoric when we're talking about conservation is any activities which involves people is antithetical to the idea of conservation. So naturally, whenever we are talking about conservation, the rights of the people who are traditionally living in such ecosystems are threatened. In order to safeguard their rights, UN has come up with rights of indigenous people in 2007. There is a convention which has given rise to this set of rights. Similarly, we have the Forest Rights Act in 2006. Now, as per the definition of Forest Rights Act, in order to say that conservation is a priority but not the rights of the forest dwellers is completely false. So FRA recognizes two sets of people. One is the traditional tribals who reside in that area, and the other category involves other forest dwellers, that is people who have been traditionally residing in those forests. For the sake of this act, three generations of people were considered as pertinent for this particular act to be applicable for them. That is to say, each generation consists of 25 years. So, three generations include 75 years. If a particular family and their ancestors have been staying in this forest area for the past 75 years, then in that case, the Forest Rights Act and all the provisions under it will be applicable for these forest dwellers as well. They need not be recognized as tribals by the government. So, as per this act, a maximum limit of land that can be held by these communities and tribals include 4 hectares of land, and this is non saleable and non transferable to outsiders. For this very purpose, national parks, sanctuaries, and other protected areas are also included as a part of this rights. So, 4 hectares of land within the national park can also be recognized as a right of these forest dwellers. This act recognizes the right of ownership of minor forest produce. So, what is this minor forest produce? All the non-timber produce, say for example, anything that is of plant origin including bamboo, brushwood, stumps, cane or honey, etc., all this can be considered as non-timber produce. So they will be recognized as per the definition of minor forest produce, and the people who are residing in these areas can use this minor forest produce and attain their livelihood by the sale of this minor forest produce. Now, like we have mentioned in the beginning of this article, 10 areas which are a part of this World Heritage Site within the Western Ghats region are in Karnataka. The problem is Karnataka has a very poor record in implementing the Forest Rights Act. The rights of tribals have been settled, but the other forest dwellers are not recognized as per this act. The reason is there is a differential treatment between tribals and other forest dwellers. There is always a clause because they have to show a proof that they have been living on that piece of land for the past 75 years. These other forest dwellers, since they were not educated, they were not able to come up with formidable proofs to establish that they are indeed a part of that ecosystem and community. And for that reason, Karnataka was always lagging behind in establishing their identity, and their rights are not properly recognized. So, a mere 7.5% of the applications are cleared by the government of Karnataka. So, this has been a problem. The very nature of the government's policy is such that they look at conservation as antithetical to the concept of development in the national parks. It so happens that the idea of coexistence of people and conservation is just not acceptable to a few states in our country, and Karnataka happens to be one of them as per the trends going by the data. Some records say that by 1980, when we had the Forest Conservation Act, by that time already 43 lakh hectares of land was encroached illegally and taken away from these forest dwellers. So all this point us towards one globally recognized trend, that is, unless and until we involve communities in conservation of our biodiversity, it is simply not possible to carry out this conservation efforts. Therefore, our priority should be to implement Forest Rights Act in its spirit and ensure that these forest dwellers have their rights duly recognized, so that we move towards the objectives laid down in the HE biodiversity targets, which we are significantly falling behind. Also, for Sustainable Development Goals 2030, empowering the rights of these vulnerable sections is equally important. That is the gist of this article. This article is about the dedicated freight corridor, which is considered to be one of the largest infrastructure schemes with respect to Indian Railways since independence. So, in order to understand the significance of this project, you have to know that till 1947, Indian Railways used to be the major freight carrier and the driver of our logistics sector in the country. But due to the inefficiencies in the system, eventually roadways, even though it is much more expensive, became the go-to option for most of the logistic players in the country. Today we have a scenario where, despite the fact that inland waterways and railways are the most environmental friendly as well as cost effective mechanisms, because of the lack of infrastructure in our country which is efficient and has the ability to timely deliver the goods, we are losing out on a lot of factors. Just to put things into context, in advanced economies, the amount of money spent on logistics is just around 7 to 8% of GDP. So the lower the cost of logistics sector, the better for economy. It increases the export competitiveness of our economy. When you take a look at the same figure in the case of India, it is somewhere around 14 to 15%, and some liberal estimates say that it is 13 to 17% of our GDP. This shows that our transport and logistics sector is highly inefficient. Because of this fact, the present government wanted to focus on dedicated freight corridors. What does this dedicated freight corridor mean? It is a railway track where only goods trains will run. The fact that goods trains are very slow in our country because they don't have dedicated lines. Passenger trains are given the first priority, and goods trains travel at the speed of 20 to 25 kilometers per hour every day, and it takes days together for the logistics or the consignments to reach from one place to another, which is very inefficient for the manufacturing sector. In order to have a vibrant export ecosystem, we need to have this dedicated freight corridors. So what is the benefit of this project? Now, when we have a dedicated freight corridor, the first importance is it will reduce the cost of logistics. Secondly, it will increase the efficiency because there is, on one hand, energy efficiency and on the other hand, we're talking about time as a factor. The third factor is agility. The faster movement of goods will increase the trustworthiness of our exports. The next one is environment friendly. Since we are carrying a large volume of goods in a electric line, and these electric lines are in the future going to be powered by renewable energy, they are going to be environment friendly as well. And next thing is, Indian Railways is the largest employment generator in our country, and this dedicated freight corridor will create more number of jobs. Similarly, in the areas where this project is going to come up, it will improve the real estate prices in that area. In order to execute this project, there is a government company or PSU called Dedicated Freight Corridor Corporation of India Limited, that is DFCCIL, Dedicated Freight Corridor Corporation of India Limited. So the job of this is to engage in the planning, development and deployment of all the monetary resources, or even the human resources that are required for building and maintaining this dedicated freight corridors is taken up by this company. In India, at this moment, there are two corridors or dedicated freight corridors that are planned, and this happened way back in 2006 itself, and the project has not really taken off. So the segment that we are talking about right now is the Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor, and there is another one which is called the Western Dedicated Freight Corridor. There is a place near Delhi called Dadri, and at this point there is a conjunction between the Western Freight Corridor and the Eastern Freight Corridor. So the news article pertains to a small segment on the Eastern Freight Corridor in UP. This is the starting point for this prestigious project, just a 350 kilometer stretch. If you take a look at the entire Eastern Corridor, it is nearly 1856 kilometers. And when you compare that with the Western Corridor, which begins at the same place at Dadri and ends in the Jawaharlal Nehru Port in Mumbai, it is much lesser than the Eastern Freight Corridor. The length is around 1504 kilometers. Now, if we take a look at the section that we are talking about, it started in Bhaupur and it is going to end in Khurja in the state of Uttar Pradesh. So, on this line, only goods trains are going to run, and the project cost is nearly 5k crores, and it is being funded by the World Bank. So, this is the important point for our prelims. What is the rationale behind picking up this particular section only? This is one of the most congested lines in the entire country, because this article says that the capacity utilization is 150%. What does that exactly mean? So, if the railway line was actually laid down for 100 trains, what is happening is the traffic is for 150 trains. So that is the level of capacity utilization, and decongestion is a sine qua non for a healthy functioning of this particular segment. And there is no better sector than the Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor in this particular section, and that is the rationale behind picking up this segment of the entire stretch. What will be the impact of this? Currently, like we have discussed, the speed is around 20 to 25 kilometers per hour, and this will improve to 65 to 70 kilometers per hour from now. This is a very significant improvement for any goods train in our country after independence. What are some of the significant industries in this region? You have aluminium industry, the dairy industry, textiles, glassware, pottery, and one of the rare products, that is hing or Asafoetida, which is generally not grown in India, is also situated in this region. So this dedicated freight corridor will give an impetus for all these industries, and it will help in the export competitiveness of these products. Our Prime Minister has also inaugurated a Operation Control Center in Allahabad, or Prayagraj as it is called right now. So this will act as the command center for the entire Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor. One speciality that I have to mention about this particular building is it is given the rating of Griha 4. So Griha ratings are given to indicate the environmental friendliness of a particular building and how they are suitable for energy consumption and how they are conducive for sustainable development. So a Griha 4 rating is the best possible rating in the present context in the Indian scenario. So this building is an eco-friendly building. Also, it is disabled friendly because it has all the features as desired in the Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan. So these are some of the highlights of this article. We also have to remember that the remaining section is also expected to start very soon. We will be looking into the details of that after the news comes out regarding the initiation of the rest of the projects. So that's it for this now.